Hello, JJ DiGeronimo here. Thank you for joining Together We Seek. Tonight's topic is tarot. And I have Stella Yann here from Bulgaria to really jump into how her world has evolved and how tarot and others have pulled her forward. Hi, Stella. How are you?
Hi, JJ. It's wonderful to be here, and it's amazing that we're going to be talking about tarot and tapping into one's magic. Because if somebody told me that we're going to be having this conversation a few years ago, I'll be like, no, you have the wrong person.
Not surprising. And that is so many of the guests here talk about how these gifts find them. So, how did tarot find you?
I was thinking about it ahead of our conversation, and I remember I was changing my life. It was after the pandemic. I had already turned to the universe, and I was like, guide me. And I remember scrolling on my phone and coming across one of the tarot readers. And at the time, what I remember about her, it was that her energy was just different. She was open, she was authentic, and she was just in her power without having to force that power. She was allowing her consciousness to flow. And I thought, I need to stop. I need to pause. I need to listen to this message. This message is calling me. This message is speaking to my soul. And at the time, I didn't realize how much more awakening I had yet to experience, how much more healing. But I remember listening to that first message and being drawn to make it a habit to listen to these messages. I think this was one of the lessons about tarot. Listen to the messages, listen to the synchronicities. They're here to guide you.
Oh, this is music to my ears because I'm coming out with the 6 phases of spiritual awakening. And the first step after you realize you're not where you want to be or you're looking for something is curiosity. So the fact that you were like, wait a minute, tell me more. So, how did that tell me more really lead into you even creating your, is it tarot or tarot deck?
I call it tarot, but I've heard it being spelled in different ways, pronounced in different ways. And I actually have the first prototype here. Am I the problem? Which was intended to be more around blending psychology and spirituality as I was navigating my own neurodivergence and trying to figure out, am I the problem? Because I seem to be speaking a different language and people don't seem to be able to relate to me or to understand me. And I figured out, first of all, I am on the spectrum, but second of all, I am a star seed. So people are not here to understand me. I'm here to make it possible for them to understand and reach these higher levels of understanding that are natural to me. How I was guided to this deck, I have no idea. In all honesty, I was just trying to channel my first book. I channeled the book. I was guided to tarot. I started channeling my messages, and the idea just started flowing. And this curiosity that you mentioned, I was like, well, what if I capture this? What if I turn it into something? What if I create the visuals? What if I share it with the world? And this what if led me to create it. It was an unsuccessful campaign, the very first version of the dig. And maybe this was kind of the lesson. Listen to the feedback. And if the feedback is rejection, it's not rejection, it's redirection so that you can take it to the next level. And now it combines tarot cards and oracle cards into one deck packed with mysticism and symbolism. And hopefully, some of the concepts that I include in the deck, including destiny swap, handlers, create a conversation around Earth being a spiritual plane of existence and us having this spiritual experience here so that we can disconnect from the overly attachment, the over attachment that we have to the 3D plane, because our evolution as a species on Earth is dependent on us awakening and ascending at this time. And if I can channel my energy to create a resource that helps people stop in their tracks, to be triggered, to do some of the shadow work, to channel some of their light language, some of their light abilities and energy work. My God, I would have been in full alignment with my purpose and I would have done my part as a starseed. So I would say.
That is amazing. You tapped on so many things. I just want to reflect back on a few things you said. So, first, you said that you listened to the message for your first book, No One Knows Me, I'm assuming, and you really listened to what came forward for you. And from that emerged more things to channel. And you just happened to channel what used to be what you thought was going to be an Oracle deck, ended up being a combo of Oracle and
Mhm.
Tarot. and people gave you feedback and you move forward and you had to go back and redo it a different way. And I feel like this message is so important for people listening, because I feel like so many people think, well, when I get in my flow or I'm more illuminated than I used to be, like it's all just going to work out. I'm not going to hit any stumbling blocks.
Now that you're talking about it, there was feedback, but I think the feedback that I was seeking was the feedback from my spirit team, from my higher self. And the question that I always want to ask into everything that I do is, how can I make this inclusive? How can I make this actually usable and practical? Because I have so many decks that are so beautiful, so magical, yet I don't use them. And they're just sitting in my wardrobe, they're sitting on the shelf. And I think to myself, one day I'll channel a message, and maybe I channel a couple of messages, but I'm not using them actively. And the decks that I use the most, they feature tarot the most, because there's so much history, so much interpretation. And what I love about tarot is that there's also numerology, which is something that I use with astrology for my model. And so I wanted to bring that. I think this was what was missing in the first deck. The depth was there, but I couldn't connect it to what's already existing on Earth. So being able to remind people of their multidimensional nature, even through the things that I'm creating, is insane. And I did channel No One Knows Me first, and then the book that I wanted to write after that was the follow-up to No One Knows Me. Another book started to come through, and it was religiously charged. It's called God Send Me. And I remember being scared. I thought, what are people going to say? People are going to judge me. People are going to judge me for doing tarot. People are going to judge me about talking about God and my relationship to God, because that's not the world that I live in. People don't just, you don't meet people on the street and you talk about God. Maybe some people have been raised in those families, but not me. And so I thought, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to share everything that is coming through. I don't know what the reaction is going to be. I don't know what the feedback is going to be, but the feedback that I'm receiving from my connection to the spirit realm is, this is it. This is all the signs are pointing, share this. So I think people that have known me my whole life, they're probably looking at my journey right now thinking, what is she doing? What is she on about? Is this who she's always been? And I think I'm surprising myself with some of the things that I'm doing. And this magic, I wish that I could have tapped into it a little bit earlier when I was a child, but I guess now is the time. Now is the time for alignment. And so I'm glad that I did, because we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I'm curious, when did you discover tarot, now that we're talking about it?
Oh, gosh, a while ago, about 15 years ago. I really tend to lean more towards the birth chart in general. But I would say that, just similar to you, I am being pushed into the spiritual realm. And even with what I'm working on next, using the word spirituality, I sat on it for a while. I kept changing it to personal, to awakening, and some guides here on the planet and above were like, or around me, were like, no, you need to lean into this. And it was hard, because I was like, who am I to talk about this? Mm-hmm. But like you, I channel my books, I channel the messages, and I feel like this is the time astrologically that we are coming out of the closet and being like, this is who I am. And I think my past lives, I'm a little nervous. My soul energy is a little nervous. So I have done some Akashic work and such. But with the tarot, tell me, like, what has the tarot done for you, or even some of your clients, to help open doors for where they may have been fearful, or just saying, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing?
It's brought some of the playfulness into my life, I would say. I think that curiosity merged into the playfulness, and it merged into reframing the way that I talk about the time that I spend with my inner child or my higher self. And the way that I've used tarot is to give people some validation that they're not going crazy, that they are awakening, that they do have gifts. And I've been thinking about, why am I using tarot on so many occasions? But I think now it has become to me clear that I don't even need the tarot to channel the messages. But if you're delivering a message to an audience, they want to see the proof. And I think tarot allows people to believe through that proof that is materialized in front of them. But realistically speaking, and this metaphor came through yesterday, it was, tarot is a little bit like that box of matches that you use to light up when it to have some light when it's dark around you. But then eventually, as you work with tarot, you realize, I'm the source of that light. I have the power to illuminate my life and the way for other people. So after a while, you don't need the box of matches, but other people do. And I think this is the gift when you're able to use other people's channeled messages, their decks, to carry on that magic, to pass it forward, and then to be able to create your own deck and to pass on that light through your own authentic channeling. That's the magic. But I would say tarot allowed me to use it for self growth. And this was my mission at the time, to do a self growth challenge for a whole year. It kind of merged into tarot. It allowed me to strengthen my gifts in a way. Because it's one thing to just sit with your journal and ask yourself questions, and a completely different thing to look at a visual, to connect to the messages channeled by other people, and then to ask yourself those questions. It's like being immersed into the storytelling of other people while you are rewriting your own story. So it's multi-layered. It's allowed me to transform my life, and hopefully people that are connecting with my messages will continue to believe in their own magic, will continue to speak to their own communities. I think this is the ripple effect. It takes one person to awaken, but then that person can awaken 5 more, and then those 5 people can awaken 10 more. And that's the ripple effect that many people don't understand. It's not just about you. It's the interconnectedness.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I would say that, some people have done tarot in passing. Maybe they walk by a shop or they're at a party and they do it. But what do you want people to know about tarot, especially for themselves? Is this something they can pick up and work on? What do you think tarot provides for other people? I think you mentioned that it might provide self-validation or more of reassurance of what they're doing. But I think there is sort of an energy that makes people fearful of tarot.
I think the first time someone did a reading for me, it was almost like this innocent invitation. Hey, would you like to ask about some people in your life? And I thought, sure, why not? And I gave a couple of people's names, and the moment passed. That's it. Years went by until I discovered tarot for myself. And I wish I had discovered it earlier, but I think I didn't, because I was around people that weren't a match to that version of myself that I needed to be when I discovered it. So what I want people to know about tarot is that when tarot cards, oracle cards present themselves, use that to strengthen your connection to the divine. Don't ask about the people in your life. Don't get obsessed with other people's paths. Get obsessed with your own path, because you have so much to learn about your journey, whether it's towards authenticity and authentic self-expression or to your purpose. You're here to do so much on earth. And the more that you ask questions about your own path, the more that you're proving your commitment to self-actualization, to integrating more of your higher self, and the more the spirit team is going to use you to do great things on earth. And I think, again, this is not something that people connect to tarot, and I hope they do, because they think it's connected to darkness, when in fact it illuminates the way to light, to being a light worker, as I like to refer to myself and people in my network.
So beautiful. I love that. And what I love about you, Stella, is you're helping people find their purpose here on earth. And the tarot is one of the ways that you do that. So do you want to talk a little bit about your approach for people to align with their purpose?
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Tarot entered my life around the same time as I started to discover numerology and astrology. And I developed this model by first testing it on my life. I understood there is a thing called Natal birth chart, and I added my details on a generator online, downloaded my data, and I started studying it. And there are the 12 houses, the 12 signs, and you have a blend of different energies in your natal birth chart. And depending on the energies that you are resonating with and acting from, you're moving into different aspects of who you are, different expressions of who you are. But there is great power in aligning with your sun sign, because that is your higher self energy. So what I've understood about the natal birth chart is that the moon sign and the south node are going to point to you towards your comfort zone. And so you can be extremely talented at being in those energies, in those houses, but they're not going to help you progress with your soul purpose. And so this is what I want people to realize. You have to move to the sun sign and the North Node. Your North Node is the alignment with your purpose. And using numerology, you can analyze your name, which is another aspect to, understanding who you are and who you came here to be. And through numerology, you can map out your first name is the alignment with your soul purpose. Your second name is the alignment to what you're here to give away. You're not here to embody it. You're here to empower other people because you've already mastered it. And then the last path, your last name, is how you're here to show up. And when you understand these things and when you make the changes in your life, you align with your life path, and no force can distract you anymore, can delay you and detour you.
That is beautiful. And I love that. And I learned so much from these things. And I think, Stella, having a way to help people understand themselves from different dimensions is so important, because my South Node, as you know, is in the 12th house. My North Node is in the 6th house. So my goal is to bring spirituality in practical ways to the public. And I feel like through one-on-one experiences in many ways. So I've taken a long time to analyze my birth chart. I do Oracle and Tarot often, and I'm always around energy and frequency that I think helps me illuminate my path. And the fact that you bring that all together is so powerful for people, because it takes some of the guesswork out of it. And I try to tell people, this is just like doing Myers-Briggs or Strength Finders, but the data is yours. Mm-hmm. And you can see where you are in your path and where you need to go to illuminate your path forward.
And that data doesn't cancel out Myers-Briggs, as you said, because I'm INFJ from that test. And based on what they've discovered about that type, I get to understand an aspect of myself that I wouldn't be able to by just looking at astrology or numerology and even human design. But having all of these tests, using them as tools to rewire that inner machine, and to understand your own operational system. And one thing I often say to people, especially when we're analyzing their chart, is there's nothing wrong with you by not having one of the elements in your main 6 aspects. So sun sign, moon sign, south node, north node, rising star, and Venus sign. If you don't have any air signs there, which is the practical energy, which is the identity connected to energy, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's just that your operational system requires you to move in a different way, and then to partner with people that have what you're missing. That's where the real co-creation is going to happen. You're not here to do this journey alone. And when you understand where your strengths are, where you need to work on things, and where you're lacking maybe some of the energies, you can partner with people that are masters of what you're lacking, so that together you can create something greater than you would have done. And I think if you have 7 anywhere in the main 6, that's co-creation. You're here to co-create. You're not here to do this alone, which is my North Node. And so I delayed my success for a really long time, because I was kind of in circumstances where I had to deal things on my own. I had to deal with the spiritual awakening alone. I had to deal with traveling alone, living alone abroad for many years. And maybe this was one of the tests for me. Am I going to be able to shift my entire operational system and belief system to open up and trust other people and invite them? And I did, which is where I created a lot of the podcasts as my playgrounds. And I would love to have you on one of them. Which is, I think, only a matter of time.
I love it. I love it. I know I was looking at your podcast, Born to Do It. And I just love that everything you're working on is helping people figure out who they are faster, so that they can get into their life's work and make the difference they wanted to make before they got down here.
Yes. And it's not just about your soul. It's not just about aligning with the higher self. And I've come to this realization a couple of times. I can be this channeler that just surrenders to the spirit, and I allow spirit to speak through me. I don't want that. I want to retain this thread that is this lifetime and see it through to the very end. So I want to be childish from time to time. I want my inner child to be excited. I want to be imperfect. I want to make my mistakes, so that at the end of my life, I can analyze, what did this operational system, what did this vessel that is now called Stella Yann, what did she do? How can I improve that in my next lifetime? What did I learn? So the ego aspect here is, what have you learned as yourself? And how does that align to the vast consciousness that is your higher self, that includes your past lifetimes, that includes your connection to dragons and angels and even demons? So, yeah.
Yes, that is beautiful and so wise. So wise. Like there's no mistakes. Like just be in the moment, be yourself, use these tools as ways to lean towards the energy you brought and this like the expertise or the skills you have to share. So all your links are below. But tell us, how do people work with you? What's the best way to connect and make time with you?
I would encourage everyone to get a reading of their natal birth chart, whether you do it in your own time, whether you book a session with me. I do have a program called the Soul Purpose Program, and I would love to guide you towards alignment. And I think I'm starting to realize it's not even about moving into alignment, but rather staying in alignment. So if I can support you in making some of the choices and making some of the adjustment in your lifestyle to remain in that alignment, you're going to see your whole life transform. Get on my website. There's so many links. I'm working on so many things. My tarot oracle deck, Am I the Problem, is going to be out this month. I'm working on a book called The Soul Gate, which is going to be out later in the summer. So there's a lot of ways to engage with my energy, engage with my channeled messages. And if you want to be part of one of my podcasts, again, reach out.
This is beautiful. Thank you so much, Stella. I look forward to seeing you again here or overseas, and hopefully you'll join us in the Together We Seek community. And I would love to do even a group tarot reading with you, with the community for your new deck, so we can support you and really enjoy what you've created. The cards are incredible, and so rarely do you see a tarot oracle combo. So thank you for creating this for all of us.
Thank you for creating this sacred space and bringing people together. You are truly acting in alignment with unity consciousness, and it's been a pleasure to be part of your playground, as I like to refer to podcasts.
I love it so much. Thank you, Stella. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at Together We Seek next time. We hope that you are aligning to your light and leaning into what is calling you. And don't forget to play. Thank you, Stella. Have a great day.
Thank you, JJ.